Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi. Menachos Daf Ayin Gimel. We begin on Ayin Beis Amud Beis at the second line off the bottom. So we concluded yesterday with a pasuk which provided the source that even a mincha made of barley, even that mincha has its shirayim, its leftover portion, given to the kohanim. It was based on the pasuk of v'chol mincha b'lulav hashemen v'chareva l'chol b'nei arantia. Ask the Gemara today, what do you mean? How could you learn from that pasuk if that same pasuk has already been applied elsewhere as a source for a different halacha, making it unavailable for this halacha? Is it coming for this purpose? But this pasuk is needed elsewhere for a different halacha. Look at this sanya, as we learn in the following brisa. So the karbanos were distributed to the kohanim on duty on a daily basis. Now, as we're going to see in the next brisa, the distribution is meant to be an equal, even distribution. So you have 100 kohanim, you have a karban chatas, each one gets a portion, whatever it may be, as small as it may be. You cannot go ahead and make a switch. Look, you'll take the extra meat, I'll take the extra mincha. This way we each have a significant. No, each carbon individually will be distributed equally amongst all kohanim. In fact, some Rishonim learned that you can't even switch it after the fact. Okay, I'll give you, you give me. No. So the actual chalukah has to be even, as the pasuk says, ish ka'achiv. Right? Each ish ka'achiv as his fellow, kohen. So it's an equal distribution without any wheeling and dealing. Now, as we're going to see in the brayso, it applies to all types. So you can't switch, he'll swap the mincha for the meat, or the meat for the mincha, or the bird for the. You can't do that. Minayin, how do we know? In fact, she'ein chalkin, you can't divide menachos keneged zvachim, a mincha in exchange for a karban. So I'll get a double portion of the mincha, I'll take your mincha, and I'll give you my portion in the, no, Talmud Bavli, v'chol mincha, ashatafa betanu l'chol b'nei arantia ish ka'achiv. So let's just read the pasuk. It's actually a group of two psukim here. It reads like this, v'chol mincha ashatafa betanu, so it begins with v'chol, and it goes through a whole list of all types of menachos. Ashatafa betanu, v'chol nasib marcheshes, v'al machmas, l'koyin ha'makriv, next pasuk, v'chol, again, v'chol mincha belula, b'ashemen v'chareva, which was actually the pasuk we used yesterday, and that's going to be the kasha today. We see that this same pasuk is being applied elsewhere for a different purpose. Okay, the pasuk continues, v'chol mincha belula, b'ashemen v'chareva, l'chol b'nei arantia, ish ka'achav, must be evenly distributed amongst all the kohanim that are on duty that day. Okay, so I can't swap mincha for meat. Okay. Perhaps I can't do that. Why? Because they don't really relate to each other. They're different types. This is a mincha, this is an animal carbon. They don't really relate. In fact, even if a person can't afford, he's meant to bring an animal, he can't afford, he drops down a level to a bird. He doesn't drop down to a mincha, which is 2 steps away. So a mincha is not really related to an animal carbon. And that would explain perhaps why you can't swap one for the other. They're too far apart. But what about a mincha and bird? They're close together. If you can't afford a bird, you bring a mincha. So maybe there you can swap one for the other. Let's see. Perhaps you can't divi mincha in exchange for meat of an animal. Even when you're a dallas, when the person's can't afford, you don't bring one instead of the other, meaning they're not connected. They're too far apart to relate to each other. Perhaps you can take a little extra mincha in exchange for your part in the oif carbon, because there is some connection between bird karbanos and menachos. Because when a person is obligated to bring a bird, he can't afford, he brings a mincha. So once again, we have another part of the pasuk which covers this as well. And these are extra expressions in the pasuk, because Rashi explains, once the pasuk says all menachos are equally distributed, why does the pasuk have to go list them all out? Mincha, machbas, marcheshes. These are all extra expressions to tell you, in all situations, in all configurations. Whatever you're distributing, it has to be an equal distribution. Perhaps I can't swap mincha for bird because they're so far apart, they're so different in type. Birds are blood related and menachos are flower related, different materials. But perhaps bird and animal are closely related and they can be exchanged for each other. But animal for bird perhaps do connect. They're both types of blood. Again, so once again, this covers an extra dimension, which includes this type of swap as well. What about I understand you can't swap bird for animal, because they're so different in the way they're processed. The bird is processed by hand, the malika, right, is done with the fingernail, as opposed to the zvachim, which are done by way of a utensil, a knife. Different system. What if there are two different types of menachos on hand? I don't want to swap one for the other. They're both manually operated. Even menachos cannot be swapped around. Okay, perhaps that's only if there are different types of menachos. The machvas to the macheshes, or the opposite, the macheshes connect the machvas, because they're made differently. Shazu maseh akoshen, the machvas is a more stiffer consistency, v'zu maseh rachlan, as opposed to macheshes, which is more soft and oily. Suppose we have two machvases, so why bother splitting it? Half. You'll take this one, I'll take the other one. Or macheshes connect macheshes. So when they're both the same exact type, perhaps I can swap it around. No, you get a piece of this and a piece of that. Okay. Perhaps this only applies to the higher form of karbanis, kachik kadoshim, because after all, the pasuk relates to mincha, which we know is kachik kadoshim. So perhaps over there, you can't make this swapping around. But perhaps when it comes to lower form of karbanis like kachim kalam, like a toida, perhaps you can wheel and deal. Ish ka'achiv, and then it says vimal toida, and toida of course is kachim kalam. So we learn that kishem, just like she'ein cholkim kachik kachim, you can't swap around when it comes to kachik kachim. The same with all karbanis. Kach ein cholkim kachim kalam. And the pasuk concludes with the words ish ka'achiv, and we learn that ish cholik, only an adult has a right to a portion of the karbanis. A kohen who is an adult, past bar mitzvah, maybe he happens to be blemished, and he can't actually do avodah today. We have a special pasuk that he can earn a portion in the karbanis, as opposed to a minor, he doesn't get a portion, even if he's unblemished. Only a gadol. Now we have a kasha on hand, because this pasuk, is being applied for this halacha, for equal distribution. How can we use the same pasuk yesterday regarding the other halacha? Says the Gemara, the other halacha of yesterday, today's halacha mikol nafka is going to be learned from kol. The pasuk begins with v'chol. It's an added expression. That's the way drashas work. We don't necessarily understand the drashas, but that's the way it works. When there's an extra pasuk, pasuk is alluding to the extra halacha that you meant to make an equal distribution under all circumstances. Says the Gemara, but even kol has already been applied for a different halacha way back on Daf Samach Gimel. It's been used. A different halacha that we learned way back. So again, it's unavailable. We're stuck. Elahu mivichal. Fine, the kol word is extra. It's been used, but the vav, vichal mincha, the extra vav, is available for this halacha. So bottom line is, we now have sources for both halachas, that it has to be equally distributed, no swapping around, and likewise, yesterday's halacha regarding the shirayim of the Menachos, Menachos knois, which are made of sa'irim of barley, also are directed to the kohanim for consumption. Rina Amar has different teretz. I'll tell you what we learned the halacha of the shirayim to the kohanim by the barley-related menachos. Ashim in the Tani Levi, I have a different source. Levi's brisa, an open pasuk. Tani Levi. This is a pasuk in Parshas Korach, which lists us all the gifts to the kohanim, the chavdalad matanis kahuna. So we have l'chol karbanim, l'chol menchasim. All these are given to the kohanim. L'chol chatasam, and there's an extra expression here, l'chol, right? L'chol hashamam. What do we learn from all these extras? Kol karbanim l'rabis lug shemen shel mitzvah. That the mitzvah brings a certain amount of oil, which actually does not end up on the mizbeach. Part of it is placed on his earlobes, on his forehead, on his on his head. Part of it is sprayed towards the heichal, What happened to the leftovers? That's given to the Koyanim. And Rashi points out that the Luk Shemen elsewhere is referred to as a korban. So L'chol korbanam refers to the oil which is given to the Koyanim. Now, why would I need a special pasuk for this? The answer is because perhaps I would think it's different than a regular. The pasuk says that Kohanim, they get the leftovers of karbanos, who are partially brought on the mizbeach ala ish, right? So they get the leftovers. Not so the Luk Shemen Shel Matzorah, which has nothing to do with the mizbeach, and that's why we need a special pasuk to include Luk Shemen Shel Matzorah as well. Kasser Rachmana. Therefore, the pasuk goes and teaches us that they get the Luk Shemen as well. Kamashma. What about L'chol Menachos? What's that coming to include? L'rabbis. Here we go. This is our source that we're looking for. Menachos Omer. Or Menachos Kenois. So these two are included. They are also given to the Kohanim for consumption. Why would I think they're different? Perhaps I would think these two menachos are very different, because typically a mincha is mechaper, atones for a sin, etc. But here we're speaking about minchas omer, whose primary purpose is to permit consumption of the new crop. It's a matir. Likewise, minchas kenois that a soita brings. It's meant to verify, to confirm her status, whether or not she's sinned. So it's a different type of function, different type of process. And perhaps that doesn't go to the Kohanim to eat. Perhaps I would think. Pasuk, in relating to the Kohanim's consumption of karbanos, tells us an interesting point. It's more than just that they have a right. By consuming the karbanos, they are in essence completing the atonement process. So part of it goes on the mizbeach, part of the dab. Then when it ends up at the Kohanim, leftovers, v'ochlu. Sometimes when the Kohanim eat, they are mechaper. Amazing. Their act of achila and holiness is mechaper. It completes the kapara process. That's what the Torah describes it. As opposed to these two menachos. V'hai, the minchas omer, doesn't really have that function. Lahater ka'asi is coming to permit. V'dechnami, the other one for the soita, levar ka'asi is coming to verify a situation. Kamashman, perhaps they wouldn't be going to Kohanim. Kamashman comes to pasuk and says it goes to the Kohanim as well, like any other mincha. What about l'chol chatas? What's that coming to include? L'rabba is chatas oif. A chatas bird goes to the Kohanim for consumption. Why would I think otherwise? Because perhaps I would think neveli. After all, it wasn't really shechted properly. It was malika done, the removal of the head with the the fingernail. That's typically called that's considered like killing the animal, right? Perhaps it's a dead animal and unsuitable, unfit for Kohanim to consume. Really, Kamash Malan comes to pasuk and says no. It experienced a true akrava process. It's good for the carbon and it's good for Kohanim to eat. What about l'chol hashamim? What's that coming to cover? L'rabbis to include asham nazir, asham metzora to the Kohanim. Ask the Gemara, asham metzora? Why a new pasuk? We have a clear pasuk on that. That it goes to the Kohanim. Kikachatas hasham ulakoyin. The pasuk clearly says that the asham metzora goes to the Kohanim. Ella radl rabbis to include asham nazir. That's the focal point, and treated like asham metzora, which we know as a given goes to the Kohanim. Why would I think asham nazir is different? Perhaps I would think similar to a minute ago. This isn't really meant to atone. The asham that a nazir brings when he becomes tummy, he brings an asham as part of this purification process to sort of allow him, enable him to activate the new, to restart his nazirus. That's lahachsha. Or some say, Rashi on the bottom says, to allow him to take his haircut, to drink wine. It's a different type of process, different type of objective. Perhaps that doesn't go to the Kohanim for consumption. Kamashman, the point is, yes, we treat it like any other asham. And finally, the pasuk says, Asher Yoshivu, something which is returned. What's that? Zegez l'hager. If one robs a ger, which means to say, typically when a person steals money, and he swears falsely to deny the claim, and then admits that he has to repay the owner or his kids, the actual principal and the added fifth, etc. What if it's a ger who has no descendants? He died childless. There's nobody to give it back to. You give it to the Kohanim. And the pasuk ends off l'chahi ulavanecha to teach us that this money belongs totally to him. Shalchahi ulavanecha. It's yours, Mr. Kohen. Do with it whatever you want. has no holiness. It's your personal possession. It's your personal money. I feel the Kaddish Baruch Hu use it to betroth a woman. So it's totally yours. Okay, so in conclusion, we learn from either the first source or the second source that the shirayim of the Menachos Omer and the Menachos Knois are directed to the Kohanim like any other mincha. We also learned that the karbanos are meant to be distributed equally, each achiv, with each kohen getting a fair share of each individual karban. Now comes a brand new discussion. We all know that even a guy can bring a karban. We have a pasuk. Pasuk says, ish, the double ish covers even a guy. He can bring a karban. The pasuk concludes with a reference to an oila, asher yakral Hashem la'oila. Says Rav Huna, Amar Rav Huna, that's the only karban that he can bring, an oila. Shalmei, let's say the guy pledges a shlamim, oila, his karban is an oila. So even if he says this is going to be a shlamim, we don't treat it like a shlamim. Why? For two reasons. Either based on the pasuk or logic. Either it's a svar. Why? That's what he meant. He has no clue. He has no idea. He can't relate to shlamim. Shlamim has different parts. Part goes on the mizbeach, part the kohen eats, part the owner eats. L'shem shemaim, that elevates the experience, that brings the shleimus that's needed. A guy has no connection. By him, it's either himself or completely to Hashem. There's no concept of b'makadesh, worldly activities for the sake of Hashem, elevating the material, making it spirit. He has no concept. So by him, when he's giving it away, it's totally for Hashem. He intended to give it totally to Hashem. Or it's based on a pasuk, because in that pasuk, which allows a guy to bring a karban, it clearly mentions an oila. Called the makri, any karban that they bring oila lehavi is treated like an oila. So according to Rav Huna, a guy only oila only. Masiv Rav Chamar, I have a question from a brisa, which seems to say that he can bring anything. If a guy donated a shlamim, not only Israel. Now, of course, even if you would say a guy can donate a shlamim, but certainly when it comes to consuming the karban, a guy cannot consume the karban. He can't eat, shlamim. So he'll have to give it to somebody. Not only Israel. So if he gave it to the Yisrael to eat, good for him. Yisrael oichlan, so Yisrael eats it. Not only the kohen gave it to the kohen to eat, the kohen oichlan, the kohen eats it. But in any case, we see that a guy can donate a shlamim, unlike Rav Huna who says oila only. No, the brisa means like this. It wasn't the shlamim of a guy. What happened was the guy heard that a Yisrael pledged a shlamim. He says, you know what, my good friend Yisrael, let me sponsor your shlamim. Let me bring it on your behalf. So technically, it's the Yisrael's karban, paid for by the guy. That's okay, as long as it's not the guy's karban. Amash yischaper, but in Yisrael oichlan. If he meant that Yisrael should have kapara from it, Yisrael keeps it and eats it. Or if it was meant for a kohen, likewise, Amash yischaper meant kohen oichlan. Mazar of Shesvi. So you're telling me that a guy could only completely give it away in oilam, or as Rashi points out, when it comes to menachos, he can't do a regular mincha which is consumed by kah. His mincha is totally on the mizbeach, totally for Hashem. Listen to this brisa. Masar Rav Shesvi, Elu menachos nikmatzes. We have our Mishnah. Here's a list of menachos which go through kmitza. Vishi rein l'kayim. The leftover portion is given to the kohanim, and we have minchas ovid gechavim. Clearly, a guy's mincha is going to be consumed, not fully incinerated. Rabbi Yochanan le'kasha, you're right. It's a machlekes tanaim. Some hold that a guy can only donate oila or a mincha which is completely burnt on the mizbeach, and some say he can donate pretty much any karban, like Hashem. Harabbi Yitzchak Lili, who says he can do all options. Harabbi Kiva, who says oila only. The Sanya, ish. So that's the pasuk we refer to. That's the ish, right? Matam ish. Why does it say ish again? The rabbis to allow a guy as well into the karban world. As if Yichavim shenoidrin, nedarim, undavas Yisrael, they could donate karbanos like Yisrael. And the pasuk gives you a list, a printout of different type of karbanos. Asher yakriv Hashem la'oila. So perhaps we would confine it and limit it to an oila, right? No, Talmud Lema, the pasuk continues, nidreim. Any type of karban. Toida minayin. What about a toida? Sorry, where am I? In the oila. Shlama minayin. What about a shlam? Talmud Lema nidreim. Right? You can donate even a shlam. Toida minayin. What about a toida? Talmud Lema nidvaisa. So that's two. That also is included. Milan the rabbis ha'oives. What about bird karbanos? V'hayayin, we donate wine. V'alavayna, right? Some sort of spice. V'aitzim. Tamalayim in the l'chol, the extra l'chol covers that as well. L'chol dvaisam l'chol. It says l'chol and dvaisam to cover everything. So why is the pasuk even single out oila by name if it's not limited to an oila? From oila we learn prat nazirus. You can only bring a regular carbon. You can't bring a carbon of a nazir. Okay, so that's out. We'll get to that in a minute. But in any case, according to this opinion, divrei Rabbi Seglili, according to him, the options are pretty much unlimited in terms of what carbon a guy could bring. Rabbi Kiva Aimer, no, it's limited to an oila only, in line with Rabbi Huna's earlier statement. Kiva Aimer asher kril Hashem la'oila means ein le'oila b'lvad, only an oila. Okay, fine. So bottom line, it's a machlokes between Rabbi Kiva, who says it's limited to an oila, whereas Rabbi Seglili says all options are open. Now let's hone in on the prat nazirus. V'hai prat nazirus ma'achad nafka. Is this the pasuk which teaches us that a guy cannot relate to the carbon of a nazir? Ma'asam nafka. We have a different pasuk that he doesn't relate to the whole process of nazirus. Da'abar bnei Yisrael v'martalem. Tell the bnei Yisrael they can commit to the parsha, to the status of a nazir. No wine, all right? Ish. Kiyafli, linder, neder, nazir, lahazir, lashem. We learn from him, only bnei Yisrael have that ability. Bnei Yisrael noidrin, bin nazir. Ve'ena oid yichav noidrin, bin nazir. So here we have a source that a guy is totally preempted from nazirus. Why the other pasuk? Why is that needed? Says the Gemara, if only from this pasuk, which doesn't allow him to bring the carbon of a nazir. I would say carbon of the lelaisi. He can't sponsor a carbon of a nazir. He can't bring a carbon nazirus. Aval nazirus chalalayu. But perhaps he can become a nazir. There are two components to nazirus. There is conducting oneself as a nazir, refraining from wine, from becoming tummy, etc. Perhaps that he can do, although he can't bring the carbon of a nazir, as per the exception of the in the pasuk oila prat nazirus. So perhaps the carbon not, but the experience yes. The Kamash one comes to the next pasuk and says only bnei Yisrael can relate to the experience of nazir. Now you'll ask, what about the other way around? Once we know that he can't become a nazir, of course he can't bring a carbon. Why do you need the other pasuk? So actually, it's a question that's posed by Tosfos and Nazir, and he says, true, the guy himself can't become a nazir. Certainly, he can't bring the carbon of his own personal nazirs. If he's not going to be a nazir, he doesn't bring a carbon. But perhaps he can sponsor the carbon of a Yisrael nazir. So if a Yisrael became a nazir and needs to bring carbon, perhaps the kohen could sponsor that carbon. Comes the pasuk and says, "Oila prat nazirus." No, he doesn't relate to anything related to a nazir. Not by himself, not by his carbon, not even sponsoring the carbon of a yid. Okay, come on, Ozlo Desnan. Let's take a look at the following Mishnah. Amr Rav Shimon, Shiva Dvarim, Hiskinu Bezdin. There were 7 practices established by the Bezdin, and the following is Echad Mem is one of them. So let's see who's the author of this Mishnah. A guy sent his carbon oil from out of town. So he sent along to Nesachim. He wrote a check. He sent it along. We can buy the wine. All that comes along with the carbon. Fine, great. So it's self-sponsored. Great. But let's say he didn't provide for the Nesachim. What happens? Who's responsible for the Nesachim, which is a standard accompaniment for every carbon? It's sponsored by way of the public treasury. Special takah. Now, clearly the Mishnah is allowing a guy to offer wine. Is this perhaps only like Rabbi Seglili, who allows a kohen to be makriv of wine, as we said before? In contrast to Rabbi Kiva, who says that a guy cannot do anything other than the actual oila. And here we see that if he sends the wine, it comes on the mizbech. Rabbi Kiva. This Mishnah can fully fit with Rabbi Kiva as well, because it's one package. When Rabbi Kiva says an oila, he means v'chol chaverto, with all its friends, it's all its accompaniments. It's one package. It's not a separate wine offering. That he can't do, but the oila he can bring with all its trimmings. Fine. Another question. Who's the author of the following brisa? This is by the psukim of of Nesachim. Ezrach, a citizen. Ezrach may be Nesachim. Only a Yisrael, a citizen, can offer wines, and means to say that he can even donate just plain wine for the Mizbeach. But only a true citizen, a Yisrael, can do that. Ezrach may be Nesach, but a guy can't. He can't just donate wine for the Mizbeach. Ve'ein ha'ev may be Nesach. Yachal loitei oilase to Nesachim. Okay, if a guy is preempted from offering wine, perhaps his korban, let's say he brings an oila, perhaps that's also exempt from Nesachim. Kacha adds and says that, yeah, you don't donate it separately, but if he brings a korban, it comes along with wine. So again, we're sort of in a dilemma. Who's speaking in this price of money? It's not going to follow Rishak Lili, nor Rabbi Akiva. Why? Either Rishak Lili, if it's going to Rishak Lili, who Amar, he says before, Afilu Yayinami. Amar Afilu Yayinami, even a guy who decides to bring wine on its own, he can do so. Here we say he can't. So that's out. Either Rabbi Akiva, okay, perhaps Rabbi Akiva speaking, but he told us only the oila itself. Ha'amar oila in midrach niloi. You can't bring anything other than the animal itself. And here we say that you can have wine accompanying the korban of a guy. Says the Gemara, no problem. Ibai Yisem and Rabbi Lili, you can go either like him, Ibai Yisem, or you can say Rabbi Akiva. How? Ibai Yisem and Rabbi Lili, either Rabbi Lili. We'll have to make a slight revision in that list in the Brisa. Sami Mahi Yain. We'll delete wine from that list. So basically, according to Rabbi Lili, you can bring anything except for wine, which is excluded by way of this pasuk of Ezrach. That's one solution. Ibai Yisem and Rabbi Akiva, or it could be going like Rabbi Akiva, with the same answers we said before. This is not a separate wine offering. Oila v'chol chaverta. Even Rabbi Akiva allows a guy to offer an oila with its trimmings, with its accompaniment. It's one package, and therefore it passes. Okay, let's stop here and pick it up tomorrow, B'ez Hashem. In the meantime, we learned that the shirayim of all menachos, even the ones made of barley, like the oimer and knois, go to the kohanim. Basically, all menachos. We'll see there are some exceptions later. We have two sources, right? Either from the v'chol. Mincha b'lo b'shemen, that was yesterday, and today Ravina added from the Brisa of Levi, l'chol menchasam, to cover this as well. We learned an interesting point that you're not meant to swap around the portions of the karbonos, rather it's meant to be an equal, even distribution amongst all the kohanim, each korban per se. Regarding the ability of a guy to bring a korban, we have machlekes tanoim, according to Rabbi Akiva, only in oila. And then we're added the chaverta as well, the nesachim to come along with it. Whereas according to Rabbi Lili, he can pretty much donate everything except for the wine. Okay, all the best to you, and